Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Berean TV. I wanna try to explain something. Somebody said to me, it often happens, but somebody recently said to me, why would the white man who killed your people, systematically brought y'all into slavery, and systematically are out here killing your people, why would they give you any truth? And that's something that I often get. We're going to talk about urban apologetics when we start dealing with sharing the gospel or speaking about our faith with other people, especially in the urban setting. A lot of people don't understand that apologetics is not normal for someone in the African American community in these days. Like if a European gentleman was to share the gospel with a co-worker, almost all the time, if I'm sharing my belief with somebody, the white Jesus is going to come up. Slavery is going to come up, and these are things that we have to deal with. There's a lot of pastors, they don't understand it, so the Bible studies are not heavy, and a lot of people don't come to Bible study because it's you're not talking anything relevant, and a lot of pastors, they're not woke according to Ephesians 5:14. But I want to answer that, and I want to, because that could be a true statement. Now, so let's just say the white man brought us into slavery, and the white man gave us the gospel. That's the rationale. What would make you think the gospel is true? Because the white man that gave you the Bible also brought your people into slavery. I think a lot of people don't understand what we call the conscious community and how the conscious community came into being. Or we can maybe call it the whitewashing of the conscious community. From the beginning of contact, at least during the chattel slavery, from the beginning of that contact, it's always been a us against them. So from the time that we've came over here. But people that are believers, we've been woke. Like I said, according to Ephesians 5:14. A lot of people don't understand that consciousness and people that are believers on Messiah, they understood something. I think it was in 1789 that Richard Allen, they walked out of the Episcopal Church. They walked out of the church because they were treated differently from the black Christians, and the European Christians were treated differently. So Richard Allen, Absalom Jones, they staged a protest and they walked out because prayer, communion, they weren't treated right. So they've been woke. Frederick Douglass, believers been woke from the beginning of time, and they understood what the slave master is doing is not the Christianity of the Bible. Slaves understood this. We could look at slave narratives. But the thing that gets me is the conscious community don't understand the whole community is built off of Europeans. What do I mean the whole community is built off of Europeans? If you look in the back of Dr. Ben's book, Ivan Van Sertima book, John Henry Clark, either they're quoting each other or they're quoting Europeans. Who are they quoting? They're quoting Gerald Massey, who's a spiritualist. They're quoting the gentleman that that was a student of his, Albert Churchwell, Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man. In the opening of the book, he said he's a 30th degree Freemason. Shaka Utmost had a video out where he's calling out Sarah Sutton Seti, saying Seti is a pseudo scholar because he's using George M. James. George M. James that wrote Stolen Legacy, he was a Freemason. Most Freemasons that deal with the higher degrees and the mysteries of Egypt and other things, they're occultists. So he was a cultist, so he's asking Sarah Sutton Seti on video on Sign TV, how can you even give us in the conscious community? How could you even promote George M. James, who was a Freemason? Now, a lot of Freemason thoughts come from Luciferians who are white people. Gerald Massey, Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, Alvin Churchwell, 30th degree Freemason, he was an occultist. Alvin Boyd Kahn, who was the King of Glory, he have another book dealing with numerology in the Bible, the alphabet and the secret mystical numbers of the Bible. These people are occultists. They're what we call Luciferians. They train people, and I'm going to try to slow down for the believers. They train people. In the occult, we have And the occult's always been associated with the belief system in Israel. If you read Ezekiel 8, there was abominations that God showed to Ezekiel that people in the temple were praying to the east and the rising of the sun. The east have always been symbolic in the lodge and Freemasonry, and always have been symbolic of Luciferianism. Back in the days, they just used to call it sun worship. People say we can't live without the sun, but there's a big difference between the sun and the spirit of the creator. There's a big difference, but Luciferians to attempt to sway you into Luciferianism, or what regular Pentecostals would call devil worship, they will give you certain things and they will train you in the occult doctrine. In Freemasonry, we have two pillars. We have something that they call, I'm going to explain what the two pillars are. We have two pillars, and they claim that it comes from Solomon's temple. There were two pillars walking in on the floor. It's black and white. It's a checkered board. It has to do with yin and yang. A lot of Christians there, and I'm going a little fast, but a lot of Christians, they're confused about certain things when we start dealing with the occult. So I'm going to explain why the conscious community, one, is built off the doctrine of the white man. They say they don't like the white man, but all of their footnotes, if it's not Dr. Ben, if it's not Tony Browder, if they're not quoting each other in that small Afrocentric circle dealing with Kemetic doctrine, they are quoting white European Freemasons, Luciferians, and occultists. And we're going to explain something. The two pillars are symbolic in esoteric circles among Rosicrucians, Freemasons. It doesn't make a difference. The occult doctrine is the occult doctrine. What do I mean by that? If you're a Delta, you don't have to be an AKA. You're already involved in a sorority. So you could be a Freemason, you can be a Rosicrucian, you can follow John Dee and Enochian magic and all of that other stuff. It's all what we would call, the old timers would call Satanism, what people today would call Luciferianism. Y'all don't have to give me, send me certain books. A lot of people like recommending certain things. I understand that there's a lot of occultists that don't believe Satanism and Luciferianism is the same thing. I understand that when you deal with the word Lucifer, we see that with Jerome and in the Vulgate. So, we read a few books, so we understand that. But when you start dealing with that doctrine, it comes from what the regular church people would call the fallen ones. And the job of the doctrine is to bring the two spheres of the brain together. That's the yin and the yang. That's the two pillars in Freemasonry. That's the two pillars in Solomon's temple, according to the occultists. Now, for the church people, because we're in a room dealing with some occultists, they don't know they're occultists. They say they're dealing with the Kemetic doctrine, but it's a Luciferian doctrine. And when you start dealing with the two spheres of the brain, the masculine and the feminine, and God is androgynous, and all of that occult teaching, the two spheres of the brain is to unify. They say to unify the two spheres of the brain so you can receive higher thoughts. They say it's your higher self. To the Christian, this is to commune with Lucifer and the fallen ones in the second heaven. Now they often blame us for certain things, but when you deal with the two spheres of the brain and joining them together with your third eye and all the occult doctrine, logic goes out the window. This is why Mary Lefkowitz had a problem with certain Afrocentric teachers, because when it came to the Library of Alexandria and the death of Aristotle and did he steal the books, a lot of times to conscious people, things don't have to make logical sense. The feminine side of their brain, they receive things intuitively. They say the white man has fooled us into thinking we have to deal with logic. So there's Christians in the room or on the thread that we've been discussing certain things in Sunday seminary or coming back from the Thrive Frequency Conference. Shout out to my man, Dr. E. Coming back from that, we've been getting it, and we've been getting it on. There was a video that's on Facebook that we're discussing Constantine and the whitewashing of Christianity. Me and my partner, Pastor Jerome Gay. A lot of people don't understand. Christians are saying, why y'all keep talking about the cranium? We're giving it to you in context, and Christians are having a problem. Why? Because context means nothing to the occult world. To a Luciferian, you can tell when you're involved in a cult if you don't care about context. Joseph Smith, the Mormon Church, Jehovah Witnesses, Black Hebrew Israelites, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Phil Valentine saying crazy crazy stuff. Sinetta have old videos with Phil Valentine. He said Adam got kicked out of the garden, but God let Eve stay in the garden. But if you read Genesis 4:1, it said Adam knew Eve and begot Cain and Abel. Knew means to have sex. They were together, but context means nothing to Phil Valentine and everybody that follows the occult doctrine. That's how come young Pharaoh can pick out one verse about the pineal gland and talk about the stupid Christians don't know any better. Because context means nothing. Hermeneutics means nothing. Exegete means nothing. So there's a lot of Christians, they're in the room talking to these people, and they seem like these people are just not seeing it. They can't see it. This is what Messiah talked about when he talked to those devil-worshipping Pharisees. He said, you can't understand my speech. This is some serious business because this is war. This is the sons of Belial against the sons of light. This is a war going on. We're on Mount Carmel, and a lot of people don't understand it. It's philosophies of man. Let me go back to Gerald Massey and all these other white Luciferians who old-time Pentecostal mothers would call devil worshippers. Their job is to create, in studying the esoteric doctrine, to join the two spheres of the brain. That's what we see on the side of the ambulance, the medical symbol and stuff like that. It's to join the two spheres of the brain. When we see that serpent energy, and I'm going to talk about you Pentecostals also opening portals, Jack Parsons and all these other devil worshippers and L. Ron Hubbard and mystics, and then we're going to explain why Farrakhan's trying to take you there, because European Satanists control the conscious community. It's to usher them into the occult doctrine. But they don't know this. Oh, you're a spooked out preacher. You're a spooked out preacher. Name a thought. Tell me a thought. Tell me an idea in the conscious community, and I can take you back to Helen Blavatsky. I can take you back to Gerald Massey. I can take you back to Kersey Graves. I can take you back to Alvin Churchwell. I can take you back to Alvin Boyd Kahn, who was the King of Glory, and all these other mystical books, because they were all European occultists. They were all European occultists, and their job is to train y'all up into the occult doctrine and do like Minister Farrakhan, trying to tell y'all there are some things in Scientology that could be beneficial to the people. Why would Minister Louis Farrakhan start talking about Scientology that came from L. Ron Hubbard and his partner Jack Parsons, who he stole the yacht from? Jack Parsons, these are people that was doing something that Aleister Crowley and them called the Babylon working. They were trying to open up portal and conjure up and call forth the spirits, call forth the beings from Egypt. A lot of you people from West Africa, your DNA has nothing to do with Egypt, but spiritually you've took on the spirit of Egypt. Freemasonry took on the spirit of Egypt. From the opening of the Bible, there's been a problem with the gods of Egypt, and the true and the living God has been war. Y'all seen what happened with Moses and the priests or the magicians of Egypt? And please don't tell me we got a good idea Bible. Acts 7:22, Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. In 18, and I'm not going to get into it because a lot of stuff I'm just saving to build in Sunday seminary with my peeps, that's ministers, that's people that's already down with this thing, and we're in this war. We're dealing with these philosophies. But I'm going to just drop a little bit on y'all. In the 1800s, and Mary Lefkowitz said something very interesting. She said Freemasonry might not have even gone all the way back to Egypt, but Napoleon and the European French Freemasons put it on the world. When we start dealing with the 1800s, 1818 to about 1914 was about 100 years. America was obsessed, especially with Champollion in 1823, when he broke the code with the Rosetta Stone. America was obsessed with Egypt. All you have to do is go to cemeteries. Go to any old ancient cemetery. You'll see a plethora of obelisks that come from Egypt, or you'll see a bunch of pyramids. You'll see Egyptian symbology in a lot of cemeteries in Europe and throughout the United States of America. And look at the dates on them. That's because Europe was obsessed. Napoleon was obsessed. England was obsessed with the spirit of Freemasonry and how they can establish. Read Manly P. Hall. That's another one. The Secret Teachings of All Ages. The Secret Destiny of America. These are all occult Luciferians. He said you have to know how to wield the energies of Lucifer. That's all the 33rd is when they talk about the 33rd vertebrae in your back and your pineal gland. Black folk, y'all need to stop astro traveling. Celestine prophecies. I leave my body. These dumb Christians don't even know it's about traveling the universe. And Bobby Hemmett, what if Lucifer was God and all of this madness? That's Helen Blavatsky. It's all European devil worship. So Christians, y'all got to keep y'all head up and y'all got to understand when we start dealing with the cultists and people that's been trained in the occult doctrine, they don't even know they're trained in it. That's how good these quote unquote their masters are. We call them master. We all have master teachers. Their masters taught them so well, people in the conscious community grabbed this and said, this originally belonged to us in Egypt. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this video and we'll get them Manetho and how Josephus, there's only a few people that have the king's list. Dr. Ben told y'all in Black Man of the Nile and the Family that Manetho was the last true priest. How the tradition continues. We'll talk about that later on. But these people are following you. There's no thought. There is no thought in the conscious community that is brand new. Oh, come on, talk to me, Shaka Utmost. Talk to me, Polite. Talk to me, Phil Valentine. Y'all love these mystics. Talk to me. Y'all got to get your head out the clouds. Things that y'all blame us for. Why would the white man give you the Bible if the Bible was anything good? The white man did nothing but oppress you. I flipped the question and I asked y'all the same thing. Why would y'all have an entire conscious community built off of European mystic Luciferian doctrines? And y'all say it came from Egypt. Y'all better watch that video with Shaka Utmost. Y'all better watch that video, Vincent on Bantu, another than the African origins of Christianity. Dr. Smalls on Sinetta TV, and he's confessing the same thing. Y'all know Christianity was in Africa, but y'all going to keep banging with y'all lies because you're following your father, the devil. My name is Brother Berean. If you like what you heard, subscribe. Thanks for watching.